There's something about genetics to learn in the TV series Quantum Leap in episode Paging Dr. Song. It involves an anesthetic drug called Respiratrax that led to the death of hundreds of patients. A young lady with undiagnosed Duchenne muscular dystrophy and an arrogant and surprised surgeon. And these are what we'll talk about today. Hello, welcome. My name is Xiao Yu. I am a board-certified clinical laboratory geneticist. Here on my channel, I share all things interesting, useful, and helpful under the broad topic of genetics. And today, we will go over 1. What is the genetic condition called Duchenne muscular dystrophy? And 2. Why were the doctors surprised that the young lady had Duchenne muscular dystrophy, also called DMD? And 3. How is DMD diagnosed using lab genetic tests? And 4. In the real world, what are the extra anesthetic drugs that DMD patients are advised to avoid? So, Duchenne muscular dystrophy is a genetic condition that involves progressive weakening and degeneration of muscles. This condition is caused by mutation in the gene dystrophin, DMD gene. Dystrophin is a protein important to maintain our muscle cells intact. DMD mutation leads to Duchenne muscular dystrophy and 3 other genetic conditions, and all 4 conditions together form the spectrum of dystrophinopathies. DMD patients usually show symptoms starting from early childhood. It starts with muscle weakness. These children may have trouble running, walking fast, or climb upstairs. And later in life, it can progress to heart and respiratory muscles as well. So in the TV series, why were the doctors surprised to find out that the young lady named Kimberly Cole had Duchenne muscular dystrophy? That's because the DMD gene is located on the X chromosome. So DMD is an X-linked genetic condition. Just like the other X-linked genetic conditions, it mostly affects boys who only have 1 X chromosome. A female has 2 X chromosomes, so even if one DMD gene is mutated on 1 X chromosome, there is another normal DMD gene on the other X chromosome. So most females who carry 1 DMD mutation are completely asymptomatic. Sometimes they might have mild symptoms, or they might show symptoms at a much later time in life. In rare situations, DMD mutation female carriers can also show classic symptoms of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Kimberly Cole in Quantum Leap are most likely those females who have very mild symptoms and have a very late onset of time of the disease. So if these patients' symptoms are so mild, how can DMD be diagnosed? In Quantum Leap, Dr. Song knew Kimberly had Duchenne muscular dystrophy because he time traveled. What about us who live in the real world, who fight through traffic to go to work in a lab? A blood draw can be taken, and the serum creatine phosphokinase level, or CK level, can be measured for these patients. An increase in the CK level is an indication for muscle damage, and measurement of CK is very commonly done to diagnose Duchenne muscular dystrophy in symptomatic patients. However, in female carriers, CK level sometimes does not increase. To make it more confusing, CK levels decrease with age in these individuals. So measurement of CK is not a very precise tool in making the diagnosis in these situations. To do it in a more precise way, we run genetic tests to detect DMD mutations. So imagine our DNA is like the encyclopedia books of how our body works. And each gene, such as DMD, is a chapter within one of the book. And each exon of the gene is like a paragraph of the chapter. And each nucleotide within the exon is like words, a few words, within the paragraph. So once we have that context, let's talk about the mutations that lead to DMD. There are two major forms. The first form is the longer form. So these are deletion or duplication of axon, a single axon or several axons of the DMD gene. And it can be deletion of the whole gene as well, and even beyond that. This is the first form of mutation. And the second form of mutation is the smaller form. These are sequence variants. So they just involve a few nucleotides. It could be missing, it can be a different nucleotides than the normal form, or it can be duplication. So different genetic tests are good at detecting different types of mutations. The genetic tests that emphasizes deletion duplication analysis are very good at picking up those big events. Just like reading a book, they can tell you if a paragraph is missing or duplicated from a chapter. But these tests are not necessarily going to detect any smaller events. So they cannot tell you if within a paragraph a word is mistyped. Well, genetic tests that emphasize on analysis for variants are very good at zeroing in on each individual nucleotide, like each word of a paragraph within the book. It's very good at telling you if there's a typo, if a word is missing. However, it may not alert you at all if a paragraph or several paragraphs are missing altogether. In DMD patients, deletion duplication at the exon level account for majority of the causes of mutation in DMD. That's why when it comes to genetic diagnosis of DMD, deletion duplication analysis is usually the first line of test. If the result returns negative, variant analysis follows. So this is how we use genetic tests to diagnose Duchenne muscular dystrophy. In Quantum Leap, Dr. Song showed Dr. Harper muscle biopsies with dystrophia, while today muscle biopsy is rarely needed for the diagnosis of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Maybe that was just last century, or maybe the point of the plot is that Dr. Harper has to be convinced by something very strong and very vivid. And it worked. Dr. Harper did not use Respiratrax. Well, Respiratrax, like I said earlier, is a made-up name. This drug doesn't exist. In real life, Duchenne muscular dystrophy patients and patients of other muscular dystrophies are advised to avoid succinylcholine and inhalational anesthetics. So, phew, that's good. Dr. Harper listened and he didn't use the dangerous anesthesia on Kimberly. Instead, he used the safe drug that's called Restonol. Well, that's also a made-up name. It doesn't really exist. When it comes to the safety of muscle dystrophy patients receiving anesthesia, it's not just the choice of the drug, but many aspects before, during, and after the procedure. In the description, I included a few links with further information on this topic, as well as a short YouTube video from Muscle Dystrophy UK. So that's it for today. If you find it helpful and useful, please click like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the world is beautiful because we are different. And I love you to every single base pair.